Okay, well, welcome back. So I think we can continue with the next session. We started from the very broad picture, and now we are zooming into the regional issues. And I would like to invite Executive Director Yulia Chilikova to moderate the next panel, and she will introduce also other panelists in the session. So I would like to invite all the panelists to take a seat, please.
Thank you. I would like to kindly invite Mrs. Yaroslava Slavkova from the, she's meteorologist and climatologist specialist from Slovak Hydrometeorological Institute. And also Ms. Livia Labudova, she is also climatologist from Slovak Hydrometeorological Institute. The next one is Miloš Grajcer. He is the General Director or Director General Ministry of Environment of the Slovak Republic. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation. Welcome Karla Voráčková is the Director of Insurance and Pensions Fund Supervision Department, our Czech National Bank, and also Lenka Slabejová, non-life insurance specialist, representatives of the Czech Association of Insurance Undertaking, and last but not least, Martin Kaňa, representative of the Slovak Association of Insurance Undertaking. I think that our panelists are perfectly fit for the previous panel because we had a global view and now we will have a more regional view. But what I also would like to picking from the previous speeches is that it's not single topic of the insurance, and we need also the representatives of government and the representatives of the meteorologists and the hydrometeorologists, and I think that it is exactly set up how was mentioned and recommended from the international organization. The structure of our panel will be that we will have a thematic speech by delivered by Mrs. Slavkova, and I will save the time. Please, floor is yours. We will continue in the discussion.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to talk about climate change. And I prepared a presentation for you where you will see, I hope that you will see, some slides about climate change in Slovakia. I will talk about mechanisms that caused climate change and also some observed trends in Slovakia and also some future trends or future projections. So let's start. At the beginning, I want to show you the graph where the increase in global temperature is shown. You can see that the global temperature mean isn't 1 degree Celsius, but there is an increase compared to the period before Industrial Revolution. So we can see that the last year was second or third warmest because there are more sources of the data, and it was approximately 1.43 degrees Celsius. And according to the latest IPCC report, we are now at the level of about 1.1 degrees Celsius of global warming, because 1 year doesn't tell us the whole picture, but we need a longer period to tell what is the current state of our climate. So even if the last 2 or 3 years were very warm, we are still at the level of 1.1 or maybe 1.2 degrees Celsius of global warming compared to the period before Industrial Revolution. At this slide, there is again the graph of temperature, but now it's for the longer period. You can see the last 1,000 years, and the blue line is the temperature, and the red line is the concentration of carbon dioxide. And as you can see, after Industrial Revolution, all lines start to rise. there isn't only concentration of CO2, but we also have other greenhouse gases, for example, like methane, nitrous oxide, and so on. So we can see that as those greenhouse gases are rising, our temperature is also rising. And on this slide, again, you can see the concentrations of CO2 for the last millennia. So we can see that the concentration of CO2 that we have today had never been above the line that you can see on a graph, or had never been so high as we have today. So it's really very high. And what's the physics behind this and behind the correlation between temperature and concentration increases? And the answer is greenhouse effect. So greenhouse effect is physical equation or physical, yes, it says how many energy is trapped by greenhouse gases. So you can see at the picture that in a stable climate, the incoming solar energy is equal to outgoing energy. But if we put more greenhouse gases to our atmosphere, it works like a blanket in the atmosphere, and the incoming solar energy is greater than the outgoing energy. And where is this energy? We can see again in the picture, and it is not only in the atmosphere, but it is stored also in the oceans, in the land, and so on. And we can see that as the trapped energy accumulates, it raises temperatures on land and in the oceans, and this leads to melting glaciers, ice sheets, and so on. And around 90% of extra heat trapped by greenhouse gases is not absorbed by the atmosphere, but by the ocean. So it can then warm the oceans and affect marine life, weather patterns, and sea level. And we know that in the nature, everything is closely interconnected with everything. And if we have increase in temperature, for example, of the atmosphere or sea or whatever, it will influence some other meteorological elements. For example, we can have somewhere maybe more precipitation, somewhere maybe less precipitation, maybe storms will be more intense, and so on. So at this slide, you can see the map of extreme events in the last year. It is zoomed to Europe, and we now know that rising global temperatures contribute to more frequent severe and extreme weather events around the world. For example, cold or heat waves, floods, droughts, wildfires, storms, and so on. So you can also see that, for example, in Slovakia or in Central Europe, the last year there were some heat waves, some flood, some maybe drought spell, maybe hail, and so on. So it was only in 1 year. So let's look at the future. Or at the previous slides, we saw what was our past, but now we will see what are we expecting in the future. So at the beginning, we need to explain what is the representative concentration pathways, or the abbreviation is RCP. It is the greenhouse gas concentration trajectories that are adopted by IPCC. And on a picture, you can see that there are many trajectories of greenhouse gases, but we usually use maybe 4 of them or maybe 2 of them just to imagine how our future will be. There are many things that are inputs to these trajectories, and it is calculated based on population growth, economic activity, energy intensity, socioeconomic development, land use change, climate policy, and so on. So here we can look closer to this graph. And for this presentation, I will use two RCPs. The one that is red is the high emission scenario, RCP 8.5. And it is a scenario that shows us future where there are few restrictions on emissions, and emissions continues to rise rapidly through this century, and it will stabilize only by 2250. And I will also compare this scenario with the scenario RCP 4.5, where this is a medium emission scenario, and there are included some measures to limit human-caused climate change. So we will work only with those two scenarios, but we know that there is some uncertainties, and that there will probably be more pathways that may be in the future, but we will compare such two cases. Okay, so on this slide, you can see how will the temperature in Central Europe and Western Europe change till the end of the century. I think that the numbers on the axis aren't very visible, but at the horizontal axis there are years. The future begins with the vertical line, and on the vertical axis there are the temperature increases. And if we look closer to the shaded area, it represents maybe 30 years, our next 30 years. We can see that the differences between two RCP scenarios aren't very different. They all tell us that there will be maybe increase in 2 to 4 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrial temperature. But when we go further, we can see that at the end of our century, the differences between those futures are quite different. So it really matters if we do something or if we don't do anything. We will maybe not see the consequences of any measures through maybe 10 years or 20 years, but at the end of the century, they will really be visible. Okay, so let's move to the Slovakia or maybe to Central Europe. If you are here from, I don't know, Czech Republic or other countries from Central Europe, it will be similar also at your country. So at the beginning, I will show you some observed trends. Here is the temperature. In Slovakia, we have observational records for maybe more than 100 years. And we know that the temperature is increasing, and in Slovakia, since the beginning of instrumental records, rised about 2 degrees. Regarding scenarios of the future, at this picture, you can see the reference period or the climate in the past at the top of the picture. Then you can see the near future in the middle, and on the bottom, you can see the far future. And again, on the right, there is a more pessimistic scenario, and on the left, there is a milder scenario of greenhouse gases. So you can see the difference between those two scenarios again, and again, you can see that the temperature increase will be higher if we will not have any measures. Maybe what is more understandable are increasing of some typical days. For example, we are expecting more summer days in 1 year. Summer days are days when daily maximum temperature reached 25 degrees Celsius or more. Also, we will have more tropical days in 1 year. We will have more tropical nights, what can influence our sleep or our well-being. Also, we will have more days with heat stress, more intense heat waves, we will also maybe need more energy for cooling because we will have more cooling days. But on the other side, in the winter, we will have less heating days. Regarding precipitation, again, we have a graph from the beginning of instrumental record in Slovakia, and you can see that the changes in annual precipitation totals are not very significant, but what we observed is that there were some changes, for example, in winter, and that there is a declining contribution of snowfall to total winter precipitation on the one hand, and on the other hand, there is an increasing contribution of heavy convective rainfall to total summer precipitation. Here I will talk something about scenarios of precipitation, and we need to know something about physics to understand what is happening with precipitation. And the physics says that the water vapor holding capacity of the atmosphere increases exponentially in response to a linear increase in temperature by about 7% per every degree Celsius. Maybe it's complicated, but it can be explained as this analogy of atmosphere as a sponge, where you can imagine our atmosphere as a hypothetical sponge that becomes 7% larger with each degree of warming. And in turn, the absorptive capacity of the sponge increase such that it can soak up more water, will its propensity to yield increasingly large volumes of water if wrung out with sufficient force. So the similar thing is also with our atmosphere, and as a consequence of this fact, we have increased in potential evapotranspiration or evapotranspiration. It means that the more water can evaporate from the surfaces, but also there is an extreme increase in extreme precipitation. So projection says that the annual precipitation is projected to increase, not very much, but it will increase. But what is important, that the days with daily precipitation totals about 40 millimeters, what is intensive rainfall, are projected also to increase across Slovakia. Okay, just to be quick, because my time is already up, I will also I already mentioned that there is increase in evaporation or evapotranspiration. It is due to rising temperatures, and if we have greater temperatures, then it is logically that the more water will evaporate from the surfaces. And also, what will be very important topic is drought, because when we put together increase in precipitation and also increase in evapotranspiration or evaporation, we can see that there are some differences, that evaporation rises faster than precipitation, and it means that at some places in Slovakia they will probably be drier conditions, and the most drought-prone areas are again in Slovakia the main agricultural regions. So we need to do some measures to prevent drought, and I think that also in the panel there will be some inspirational notes about that. Okay, so I have my last slide about case study, and it is just one example how maybe the future may look like, and we know that in the future there will be switches from one extreme to another, and this will be more common in the future. So this is my last note, not very optimistic, but I hope that you will end with more optimistic things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jaroslava, for your contribution. You bring us the data, you bring us the facts, and this is something what is a base for the future decision. And I think that this cooperation between the expert for the weather and predictions with the expert from the insurance sectors and as expert from the governments can together fulfill the missions which was presented in the previous panel. What to add that unfortunately, the climate changes and impact of these changes is no more a buzzword. It used to be like the very frequently mentioned, but we have unfortunately lesson learned that the impact of these events is very high for the society, very big for the householder, and finally for the public money. That's what we try to do. It's to increase the management of the situation because it's already here. It's not about the future. And but as Michael tried to finalize in the previous panel, that it's not too important to find something totally new. Something exists, but I'm so happy that we are here. We will discuss, and I will leave the floor now, Mrs. Labutova, that's maybe a little bit continue with the view of the expert from the Slovak Hydrometeorological Institute, and what climate scenarios are most relevant for Slovakia in the coming years, and what do these scenarios imply for risk exposure in the region?
Thank you very much once again for the invitation to take a part in this panel. I would like to follow up on what was said during the presentation. As the example at the end, at the very end of the presentation, was the storm Boris in 2024. And that's really very good example what's expecting in the future, and that's the transmission from one extreme to another extreme. Because in 2024, Slovakia experienced extremely dry season, summer season, in the whole country, and in a few days, in 2 or 3 days, it completely shifted to another extreme, and it was the flood event in the western part of Slovakia. And that's why we see that the tendency in the total amount of precipitation is not showing the statistically significant tendency, but on the other hand, we see the opening of scissors between lack of precipitation during a certain time period in the year, and then with a very fast shift to the very rich in precipitation period. So maybe my general takeaway message from the previous presentation would be that we have to prepare for more frequent, more intensive extremes. If I should pick up the key word from this my last sentence, it would not be the extreme, but it would be to prepare. Because this is maybe the key message or key step for the future, how to ensure lower losses, to prepare. How can we reach this or achieve this? Very important thing, our suggestions as climatologists, is a proactive management, because we have to shift from the reactive to proactive acting or approach in the extreme management. This can be done through adaptation and mitigation measures, but also in increasing of awareness about possible impacts of extremes, which can minimize losses after extreme events occurrence. So therefore, if we know that the extreme events will be more frequent, we expect also higher losses in the future. So preparedness is really a key point for us. This must go hand in hand between legislation, but also data and knowledge, including monitoring and early warning system, which is our field of expertise, but also communication, and not only external to general public, but also institutional communication between key stakeholders. I mentioned also that the important fact is to raise awareness among stakeholders and general public, because this can lead to, understanding the risk and possible impacts could lead to more responsible behavior and overall better preparedness of society and economic sectors on extremes. Therefore, scientists and international organizations such as WMO, so World Meteorological Organization, emphasizes impact-oriented studies, warnings, and communication in general. And there's, in my point of view, a great gap in Slovakia, because we are not collecting impact data systematically, and we are not sharing them among the key institutions in the country. And maybe, therefore, also the understanding of the society, what does it mean, the climate change, and what does it bring with it to general public is very low, and maybe also the willingness to act and to prepare is lower than if they see exact numbers and exact impacts which were caused in the past, and together with the projections for the future, this can be a very good baseline for the future steps and for more active society in the future. In the past, or in the last years, Slovak Hydromet Institute was a part of Climate Forecast project, which was focused also on the evaluation of current state of art of drought, heat wave, and wildfire management in Slovakia. And we prepared also the strategic advices how to achieve proactive DHF management in existing conditions. Maybe to summarize, the strength of Slovakia is that we improved monitoring and early warning systems. Thanks to the project, we have new forecasting tools for drought, heat waves, and wildfires, not only for Slovakia, but also for the whole Central Europe. So this is a very good message for us. But on the other hand, we have still some weak points in the field of legislation, impact data collection, impact assessments, and also in the field of effective communication. So I would like to conclude or say the very last sentence maybe from my side, and it would be that I would like to express my agreement with the thought in Mrs. Heilkemas' speech that all stakeholders have to take a part in the proactive approach in extreme events management. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution, and I believe that exactly this conference is an example of the cooperation, because we have an expert for the data, expert from the government, expert for the association, industry, and the supervisors, and I think that visibility of this topic and hope that we are able to manage it will continue, and this is not the last event, and I am so happy that everybody of you are listening, and I can see a lot of questions, and I can promise you that is not last one. And now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Grajsar from the Ministry of Environment of the Slovak Republic, which I already mentioned that I am so proud that you accept our invitation, because as was mentioned in the previous discussions, it is not single solution. It's an example of cooperation. And maybe that if I could give some frame, that the question could be, what are the main priorities of the Slovakia climate adaptation strategy, and how do you see the role of European Union evolving in this area? Because it was partially mentioned. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to this panel. Of course, the question of the climate adaptation is very crucial, and we have seen that the trends are not really positive, and of course, with the evolving climate change, the impacts will be higher. So the way forward is not only to lower the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, but also to adapt for the changes, because even if we stop producing the greenhouse gases now, there will still be a continuous effect of global warming. The energy continues to accumulate, and the global warming will still continue even if we stop producing the greenhouse gases. So we need to really focus on the adaptation as such. As my colleagues in the Hydrometeorological Institute showed, Europe is warming twice as fast as the rest of the world, or the global average. And Slovakia, I would say, it's even more, because it's Central Europe. It's doesn't have a sea, so the global warming, or the warming in our region, is even much higher. So what's the ministry doing is we are not like on some edge. We know the problem is, you know, it's since 1992. When the Rio conventions were on the climate change was signed, and basically the adaptation is part of these efforts. And what we did back in 2014, we approved the first national adaptation strategy that basically looked at the main areas, thematic areas, main problems and questions that we need to tackle in order to adapt on those changes. This adaptation strategy was then updated in 2018, and with this update we also managed to make an adaptation action plan for Slovakia, where also the sector, for example, finance and insurance, was included as a sector that is impacted by the climate change, but also as a sector that can help maybe to generate or to make some to generate some revenues, or to help the people to adapt more for the extreme weathers and forest fires, for example, and so on. At this stage, what we are doing as the first adaptation strategy is more than 10 years old. We are doing and preparing a new national adaptation strategy that will be looking for the, I would say, not targets, but the objectives until 2040. And also with the vision of 2050. So, of course, thanks to the work of our colleagues in Slovakia Hydrometeorological Institute, we are also looking at the, I would say, scenarios, looking at the temperature goals that we need to adapt for and prepare for. So this adaptation strategy is going to be really a complex document. We cooperated also with the European Commission. As part of the TSI project, it's technical support instrument that helped us to get money and to do the cooperation process, to engage all the stakeholders. So we created like 15 thematic groups to get input from all of the stakeholders, and also managed to also speak to the insurance and finance sector. So our strategy is going to be also the one that is going to not only say that there is a problem, but we are also going to identify the risks. And for example, for the financial sector, we identified like 3 main or key risks. So that is, for example, the impact on the climate change on the bank portfolios or the insurance portfolios. Also, the increase of the possible insurance costs based on the extreme events, and also the risk, for example, on the inaction. Because if we don't do anything, then basically the impact will be even higher. So those are the, I would say, inputs that we gathered for the new strategy, and based on this, we prepared a complex government document, which is now being finalized. We have concluded the strategic impact assessment study, and probably end of this month, maybe beginning of next month, we are going to publish the document for intergovernmental consultations. So you will see then on the web page the final, I would say, strategy, of course, and this strategy will be then approved by the government, hopefully by the end of summer. When it comes to the European Union, basically what, of course, we are not living in a void. We are part of the European Union, so of course there is a lot of things going on there as well. There will be, by the end of the year, an European, I would say, framework for the adaptation, but not only adaptation. It's called the European Resilience framework that will focus not only on the adaptation as such, but also to building the resilience, for example, for the financial sector, for the competitiveness of the companies. It will look at the use of the digitalization tools, for example, so AI, and so on. So we are really looking forward also what the Commission will come up with, and this input also will be then somewhat taken back to the regional area, but of course the European and national aspects are maybe a bit different. We need to really be sure that the European framework is just the framework, not setting us really strict measures, because for a country like Slovakia, which is landlocked and so on, mountainous, has a different maybe capacity than France or southern regions of the Europe. So we need a framework that can be built on, that can support us. But of course, we cannot really have a framework that will prescribe us a lot of things, because we are, in a region that has its specificities. So, of course, we are open for the consultation, for the continuation of these talks with you, with all of you, with the banking sector, with the industry sector, but also other sectors like agriculture, and energy and industry, and so on. So we are really trying to be open and really invite everyone for the cooperation participation process.
Thank you very much for your kind words. And I think that if I can summarize, is importance is cooperation, coordination, and sharing of the experience. And I'm really, I repeat myself, but I'm really happy that we give this event together, because we need to cooperate with the public, private sectors and to share what we know. It's not necessary to start in the green fields. You mentioned that we cannot copy European strategy, but what we can use it as the handbook. We have some recommendation in the global level, in the OECD and the IOPA and the Europe, and I think that it's good incentives for us to continue in the good way. And I'm so happy that also our Czech colleagues to accept our invitation, because for us it's the relation with the Czechs is not only that we was one country, but we are the neighbor, and a lot of the topics and like the climate and impact of the climate, we are facing the same things. And this is not first time when we are working together, but I think that we are really close and we can use our experience. And now I would like to invite Carla. She is an insurance and pension supervisor director. And Carla, I would like to ask you to share with us the supervisory perspective in the Czech Republic and in the Czech National Bank, and how you try to manage the insurance gap, and maybe some idea how the consumers, how should consumers prioritize to better protect themselves against these risks. Thanks.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you for the invitation, and I am also happy to have the opportunity to be here and to share with you. I prepared a lot of ideas to present to you, but most of them have been already explained, said, shared, and accepted, of course. So I will try to focus really on the supervisory view in the first part of my contribution, and then probably to go a little bit more general to our observations. So from the supervisory perspective, we have to work and to allocate our capacities and our concentration at least in two different dimensions. One is the conduct-related issues, and the other one is the prudential part of our work. In the conduct part, the key word for us is the underinsurance. The issue of the underinsurance has been also already mentioned here, and I believe it's very important role of the insurance industry to help their clients to limit, to mitigate, to minimize the risk of underinsurance and especially the consequences of it. One very effective tool we can see in this area is the financial literacy. And this is something where some programs, some activities can be organized in general, but what's especially helpful is the daily work with the clients and explaining and helping to understand the real risks of the citizens, of the businesses. This is so important and so difficult for the people who are not expert in this risk measurement, etc. So here the insurance companies play a really important role. What's our task, what our role is to see that they are fair in their doing and in providing this service. They can really fairly and transparently explain and help the clients to find the relevant solutions for them, not only the financially acceptable solutions, but really effective solutions. And this is a very difficult task. It starts with the product development, with the processes in the distribution and everywhere. And our task is really to take care that the service provided to the clients is done in a fair view and is supporting and helping the clients of the insurance companies to cover their own risks. This could not happen if there would not be sufficient level of responsibility from the businesses and from the private sector. And this is something where, again, institutions like the Czech National Bank can contribute to the general awareness, general financial literacy, etc. I said underinsurance, but underinsurance is the part of the insurance gap where the insurance sector can really help. But there is also the other part, which is the not insurable risks. And this is especially where it extremely comes to the needs of the cooperation between the different stakeholders. So this is why I am very happy to be, especially in this panel, with the experts, with the representatives of the governments. I believe also the regional governments play important role, and the municipalities as well. But the insurance sector in the Czech Republic is doing a really good job in this aspect, I believe. And my colleague will then continue and say some examples. And we are very happy for this. And what we try is to enter into communication and into exchange where we believe or where we see some risks that the clients are not provided not only with transparent information, but especially with understandable information for them. It's important that the insurance agents and the people speak the same language and understand each other. From the prudential point of view, we have to take care that this sector stays stable. And that's very important, and therefore we see the key role of the risk management in the companies. And this is where we put our focus during our supervisory work. We really concentrate a lot of our work on the risk management activities together with the actuarial part of this job. This is very expert work and very important and necessary. And a significant part of this risk management is something which I am also happy that in the previous panel the reinsurance representative was involved, because the reinsurance is something which is key for the insurance companies to have the capacity and to stay stable. And it's important that not only the reinsurance program, as they have been developed over years back, that they are kept for the future, but that also the risk managers and reinsurance managers in the insurance companies adopt to the new environment, and they understand really the risks profile of their companies as they are exposed currently to the developing environment. What we do, and it's important part of our job, is we do some stress testing for the insurance market, where we on regular basis on local level for the Czech insurance market really bring some scenarios and test how stable and how resilient the sector and the industry in the Czech Republic is. And up to now, it always confirmed strong stability of the sector, which we are very happy for. But we also have to review the scenarios included in the tests. And for example, the floods in 2024, we compared then our scenarios and the results of the theoretical tests with the real impact of the floods. And what was important, and what was also a lesson learned, not only for us, but also for the companies, was that there are not only the costs that the companies have to cover to clients, but there are also some renewals for the reinsurance. There are some operational costs for the claims handling, and this all should be then included in their internal analysis and the general analysis and reviews. So definitely the Boris floods were something which proved that the focus of this supervisory exercise performed together with the industry is very relevant and important, and we are very happy for the contributions and cooperations from our insurance company.
Thank you, Carla. You bring us to important message for us, that firstly, the healthy and strong industry could be the partner, because if we want to be the partner, we should to be strong, healthy. And also the role of the financial literacy and financial education, and I will use the opportunity that it is importance for the insurance, it's also the part of our financial education programs, because we should to educate the people to hold they or manage or mitigate their part of the risk, because otherwise it could be moral hazard that I will not to do anything, and I will be waiting in the waiting stage that somebody will take care about me. I think that this is our common role to repeat, explain, and to make it like the teamwork. Thank you. And now I would like to kindly ask Ms. Slabejová, that she's representative of the Czech Association of Insurance Undertaking, to offer us the Czech market perspective. What is the some inspiration from the Czech to Slovakia, and maybe we already mentioned the data, the new value, new goals that your lesson learned with the additional data that's.
Thank you very much for invitation. It's a pleasure to be with such a panelist in this panel. In Czech Republic, as Carla already mentioned, we saw the insurance gaps in maybe 2 or 3 parts. Underinsurance is really a big part, but if I take first what we learned from Boris, it's even more important, and then I put the underinsurance after. Boris showed us that even when we already had flood maps on a very high, based on very high quality data, it's still not the time to sleep on roses, because the current situation during the floods showed us that there still are the other types of data we would need. That's why we start with the update of the flood maps, and for you it does not mean the update where just the data from the floods will come, but it's like flood maps 2.0. So it's absolutely system new, fulfilled with a lot of new data, not only from Czech Hydrometeorological Institute, but also from the Water Measure Institute and other further institutions, and the future flood maps, which will go into the life in July this year, will have not only the flood data, but also other 200 other, we call it like slides, where you can get a risk information about the landslide, about the mud zones and other. So, and how to deal with this to make the work for the underwriters and risk engineers more easier. The new flood maps will also contain absolutely new tool called Risk Assistant, which will put together data from all these parts of the data inside of the system, and will provide the people with very nice report showing, for instance, how what is the flood level there in the location, how close is to the closest river or other water place, and our goal is that this system will be not used only by insurance companies, but also it will be used by insurance brokers, because usually when the company wants to insure their property, it is the first man who they see. So if the broker will be also able to show the client what is the risk on the location, on the property of the client, it will help us. And that's how I'm going to underinsurance. This system, it's still like on a, or will be in July in a pilot mode. The provider of the system is working on the system, and in the future it will be, there will be also possible to count the sum insured of the property based on 3D modeling and our calculator of the property value, which is currently developed by Czech Insurance Association. We already have a very good experience with calculators. Probably, as you know, we already realized a calculator for the houses for physical persons. You can find it on our web pages, and also nearly all insurance companies in Czech Republic use the principles of this calculator in their system. And that's our way how we will handle the underinsurance, because our research said that the underinsurance usually came from the fact that the insurance policies are not updated based on the level of inflation on the sums insured. So we try more to communicate the problem of underinsurance also in the media. I know that many of Czech insurers try to communicate it even in the list or in the letter or in the mail where they send the renewal conditions to the client. So I think that the level of communication in Czech Republic is quite high, but still we need to be better, quicker, and probably after a few years win the battle with underinsurance.
Thank you very much. I believe that in the next even we can share the experience from the first pilot, and you also to give us the important topics which was mentioned in the previous times, that the role of the intermediaries, and also to fair and transparent understanding of the products. I think that it's about the product governance, which was mentioned in the previous panel, if the people really know what is the cover in their contract. But last but not least, I would like to leave the floor to Martin Kaňa. He will represent our Slovak Insurance Association, and we can he can offer the what is our stage, what are the key challenges for the us insurance markets, and what potential answer or respond for the climate changes. And we speak a lot about the floods, but which climate-related risks are, in our opinion, most significant in the Central Europe now? And maybe you can add something else from our perspective.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for choosing the topic. We do believe that this is the hottest topic. And just Petra, for you, just that you know that you have almost all CEOs of the insurance-relevant companies here, even live. And the ones who are not present personally, they are online. So the topic is very, very hot. I can tell you all that this is a hot topic currently on the presidium of the association, because we do believe that we should focus much more on the topic. There are several reasons. But for your opinion, for your information, who are not from the local market, we had last year insurance forum, and we focused on the climate risk. Even I personally was shocked by some of the risks and the speed they go. And especially it was the risk of the drought we have then discussed further on. So I am very thankful for the colleagues who share with us all the information, so we have more and more data what to focus on. Currently what we know is that the level of insurance penetration is relatively low or pretty low. It's somewhere about 50%. But this is not the biggest problem. The problem is then the quality of the contracts and underinsurance, which was mentioned here. So the potential reaction of the insurance industry currently, in case the risk would be really huge, I think would not be adequate. But of course, we are not talking only about the insurance. What we do a lot, I'm looking on my colleague, is the education. We have special food in the association focusing on the financial literacy, explaining what is the risk, what and why should we protect. We know that especially Slovak citizens are people who like to own property. So the penetration of the ownership of the houses, of properties, of flats is very, very high. And as we know that people put their the biggest money, it's a little bit unsure or bad that the protection of these assets is not as strong as we would expect. Of course, part of the solution or part of the reaction is with insurance companies, but definitely not only. And that's why I'm pretty happy that it was said that we need wider cooperation through the country. What is currently happening, for example, is the discussion between the insurance companies association and the government in order to improve the speed how we react to the crisis situation. We had one round table which already occurred, and there will be another ones which we want to really focus on the reaction. How do we do? What do we do if the bigger floods or fires or other risks occur? We have seen, and I think it was mentioned by Michal, that there was a very good reaction in Germany, so we should learn from the countries they had good and quick reaction. I've heard that even Czech Republic had good cooperation of the people involved in the crisis situation, and we should learn from that and prepare ourselves. So not just as the insurance industry, definitely as well, but as well in the cooperation with others, so we are better prepared for the potential situation. My personal expectation, looking on the risks around, Slovenia was mentioned, but many fires in Europe occurred. We are seeing that the drought is increasing in Slovakia. My personal expectation, I hope I'm wrong, is that this is just a question of time when the big event in Slovakia will happen. And at this time, I would wish that we are much better prepared than we are currently, because I think that as looking on my colleagues from the insurance industry, we know that the level of, let's say, protection of the client is definitely not sufficient, definitely not sufficient. So this is our current situation. Maybe what I can share is that we really focus on the topic, and we would like to come in a few weeks to our presidium to really give it full authority. And then if we get one, then we will definitely continue with the cooperation with colleagues from Hydrometeorological Institution or Academy of Science to really search for the ways how to react on the situations when they occur.
Thank you. It looks that we choose the good timing for the discussion. That you a little bit take over one of my topics. That we start to work together. This is important. That I think that I have a privilege to choose that we have a few questions, but maybe that one is appealing for the cooperation, because one question is that the national adaptation strategy is done by the Environment Ministry, but they also the questions that is not only one ministry which played the role, and you already mentioned one working group with the solving of the crisis situation. By the way, the general directors send greetings for us. He is interested about the topic, and he is ready for the continue this cross-ministerial works. But maybe that you can tell us that if you already have some cooperation with other governmental body, or if it is some kind of pilot, or what do you suggest? Because our idea to give all stakeholders, as was mentioned, I can colleagues from the Ministry of Finance, colleagues from the Ministry of Environment, maybe the colleagues from the Ministry of the Social labor and because the final impact for the habitants, and that there is a lot of stakeholders. Please, if you have some idea or suggestion.
Yes, so thank you. I think it's aimed for me.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, the climate change and adaptation, it's something that has a lot of impacts. It's not only on the finance and insurance, it has impacts on all of the areas. So the cooperation with our other government bodies is for us essential in order to also prepare the strategy, but also to know what measures can be done and so on. So we are really in a close cooperation with other ministries, Ministry of Agriculture, for example, because the impacts on the forests, on the agricultural soils, based on the changing temperatures, the floods, the droughts, and so on. It's huge. So We are communicating with them. Of course, Ministry of Interior, with early warning systems, with the help in extreme events. This is essential. So this is also part of the national adaptation strategy and its action plan as well. Of course, health impacts. Ministry of Health is also included. We need to build awareness, as was mentioned before. So Ministry of Education is also involved. We have like created under our, I would say, national system for climate change working group, which is only focused on the adaptation part. So we have a really broad expert portfolio there, and we try to meet as much as possible. And of course, during the preparation of the new adaptation strategy, we also have like 15 sectors covered in it. So of course the communication was there as well. So yeah, as I said, this is the basis for us, because we are really, this is not the topic that is only focused on the Ministry of Environment, but it's really economy-wide topic with the impacts on everyone.
Thank you, because I think this is important, this cross-governmental cooperation. And I will choose the second question. So firstly, I had a suspicion that you, the API, that it's done from one of my colleagues, but it's again the bridge between the innovation, data predictions, and there is a big thanks to the great work of the Slovak Hydrometeorological Authority for the NatCat and the modeling. And some suggestions that offer, to use the technology with the API and to allow to use the data for insurance to import this data to their system for real-time risk assessment and automated underwriting. Did you think about this kind of sharing data? And by the way, this is not only one source of the data. The IOPA mentions the European Space Agency. We still have another data from our database, and I think that is excellent idea how we use the technology and the innovation for the risk mitigation.
Okay. So the Slovak Hydromet Institute delivered diverse new products during the last year, where we share with wide general public our data on a national level. So it's not there are not only station data, but also grid data with resolution of 1 kilometer, covering the basic meteorological parameters such as mean, maximum and minimum air temperature on daily basis, then also the precipitation, daily precipitation and daily sum of evapotranspiration, so the water which was evaporated during the last day. But we delivered also new forecasting products, forecasting the drought, heat waves, and also wildfire risk. In Slovakia, they are freely available for the general public, so also for insurers. And maybe it's a question for the closer cooperation or to contact also our marketing department, because I know that Slovak Hydromet Institute has some cooperations or agreements with some private insurers, so it's still available or possible to have a contact and to develop specifically tailored products which are needed for the clients. So it's only the matter of communication maybe and joining.
Thank you. Martin already mentions that they are in the close relation, yes. And I think that it's way or how to mitigate the risk. And maybe that I use the opportunity for our Czech colleagues, and we discuss about the importance of some roundtable when is industry supervisor, the governmental body which are able to deliver much wider picture and much better able to mitigate the risk. Maybe for the future it's some way of the potential stress test or dry run or something. Can you share with us something, some example how it works in the country level? This, I can call it crisis management, or we can find another words, but if you have something like this and what you can recommend us, or maybe that you find some gap and you have a suggestion how to be better.
Maybe just address the experience which the Czech Republic made again with the last floods, Boris, and it was very good warning system, early warning system, and this worked really very well. It was also about the personal decisions of the manager of the Hydrometeorological Institute when to start to provide the warnings, because it could really call for big panic with the people. So this, I think, is a very good experience which could be used at least again in Czech Republic, but also in other countries. But what I believe should follow is to have even pre-designed the continuing processes, all the communication, and not only that the relevant and data-based information is provided to the public, but that also the instructions and plans are somewhere in place, not only with the institutions, but also for the normal citizens. What should they do? How should they do? And here I believe that also the insurance companies can play a very good role, and this is somehow to motivate. This now probably continues or reflects what Petra said. They can motivate their clients by positive or even negative ways really to accept the rules for those situations, to understand those rules and to behave according to them, to avoid big losses and to contribute to the minimalization of the losses. But this cannot be done by every single person. This needs to be coordinated really and developed in advance. And at least as far as a private person now, not as a supervisor, I am not aware of similar plans that would be in place for Czech people, according to which I could behave. And this is something where also the cooperation can help, that the people are more motivated in contributing and helping to minimize or to solve the consequences.
And also, as you mentioned, that also participation of municipality, because this distribution as early warning system and some recommendation how to behave in this situation could really mitigate or minimize the potential claims.
Well, if I can add, also the non-profit sector can help, because as far as I know, the organization People in Need, Člověk v tísni, already produced a brochure which will help normal people, but also the municipalities, how to act in the situation of any natural catastrophe. It is a very nice small brochure where many stakeholders took part, not only Člověk v tísni, but also we as Czech insurance, Czech insurers, also some ministries. So it's really like first or one of how to say it, you can see how when the cooperation is getting well, how it will finish, how it will grow. So and on the other hand, also it is necessary to say that just to help people to repair their property to the same level as was before the flood is probably not the best way. We are talking with the Chamber of Architects and also with this non-profit sector about Build Back Better principle, which means that sometimes it's better to think first and then to act and to realize, and sometimes it's much better to build the damaged house not on the same way as was before, but on a very different way. And as Petra said, put the technologies to the floor, think about how to minimize the loss if the flood comes again. So this is also very important, and the Czech insurers know about the principle and are prepared to discuss it with the client.
Thank you. I have I give two questions together, which have a call for additional data, because one is the cross-border split overs from insurance protection gap. Can the spills over the quantified? I think that everything is possible to quantify, but we need the data. And it's an inspiration also for the researcher and scientists what kind of the data and what kind of granularity we need. And I think that, again, the technology and AI could help us. One question is motivation also for the Slovak Hydrometeorology Authority, that if your predictions also have a land erosion caused by increasing of heavy rains.
Unfortunately, the landslides are not in the scope of our expertise. It is done under the Geological Institute of Dionys Stur, so it's not under one roof.
That it's no problem. We should to invite another stakeholders with the data. I think so. If we take the lesson learned that we need everybody who have a data, we need everybody who recognize they give to improve the products, and we can find a lot of inspirations together. And I try to slowly please.
No, I'm sorry, but I forgot to mention one very important information, and that's that the scenarios for the Slovak republics are freely available at the governmental site klima-adapt.sk, and they are stored also on the National Geoportal. So for the goal, or if there is a need to use them for your maybe expertises or assessments, you can download them or go through the portal and you can see the projections.
Great. That's you give me a lot of inspiration, and I think that if we give in the one place all available data, available inspirations, and also the today presentation, we can start to build a system that's to all of you. We will inform where we create a place in our website where we will give together the information which are available. That's 210. Thank you very much to everybody, and we will. Thank you for my panelists. And I will leave the floor to my colleagues to give you the another information about important part, as is the lunch. That's because you have a time to continue with discuss with us, because it's a great topics and we don't have enough place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Julia already said it. That's just for the change, the lunch will be upstairs, not downstairs, to move you up and down. So upstairs now will be lunch.
And important when they should be.
Sure.
I would like to give them additional 10 minutes or 15. So I will be able to shortage the final words.
So at 2, we will meet back in this room at 2 o'clock. Thank you.